Hey, what's happening everybody out there? My name is Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes. In today's tutorial, I want to talk about how to create a sitemap. I have an example of one right here using Gatsby JS and their framework because sitemaps for both new sites and large sites are extremely important. So I want to show you how you create a sitemap using Gatsby JS to eventually submit to Google. And with that, let's get started. All right, welcome back. I have my website pulled up. I have my cool looking design. It's a nice little one-page website. And when it comes to Google, what I want to do is I want to let Google know that I'm out there. And a sitemap does just that. Now, keep in mind that this is the last step in my journey. I have my site already launched. I have A Designer Who Codes right here. And it's working as great as online, but I want to tell Google about my site. Now, yes, you can do the old-fashioned submit method of submitting your URL and just waiting and watching, but I want to use a sitemap to tell Google that my site is out there. Now, I only have a one-page site. That's it. If you click on these words about Patreon and courses, you just get one page. Now, it's only a small page. However, Google does recommend something in their informational area. I pulled up, if you Google literally sitemaps, because Google has this, they talk about learning about sitemaps in their informational area. When I read about it, what is a sitemap? One important piece comes out, and you might need a sitemap if your site is new. And this is what it talks about. Googlebot and other web crawlers crawl the web by following links from one page to another. As a result, Google might not discover your pages if no sites link to them. If you're brand new and you're launching a new site, this can kind of help jumpstart or launch your site to make sure Google knows that you're out there. Google by default doesn't exactly crawl new sites quickly. Why? Because Google doesn't trust you. And I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I literally have a new site right here. But Google doesn't know if your site is trustworthy or not. And so creating a sitemap just helps launch that a little further to show, hey, you're serious. You have a sitemap and you actually want to put this out online. Gatsby doesn't really have that by default, or does it? So if you actually do a Google search for Gatsby plugin sitemap, they have a plugin, and let's run that plugin right now on my site. So if I click on Gatsby plugin sitemap, in their docs, they also have the same thing, but this is the official documentation where I'm looking for the Gatsby plugin sitemap. Let's follow that and let's run this. So the first thing I have to do is save the Gatsby plugin sitemap. I use yarn. This has npm, so I'm going to say yarn add versus npm install. They do the same thing. So I'm going to go over to my terminal. I'm going to say yarn add Gatsby plugin sitemap. And there it goes. Yay! It installed successfully. Awesome. So what I have to do next is I have to add the site URL inside of my metadata. Now keep in mind, once again, this is only if you've already launched your site. This will throw an error message. I tried this once before by testing it out before I actually launched my site, and it wouldn't actually build because it didn't know there was actually a site out there. So for me, the problem was that I had no site, yet I was saying a site URL, so it was throwing an error message when it came to the build. So keep in mind, if you have not launched your site, this is about as far as you possibly can go. Also make sure, this is just your general PSA, that you do use secure sites. So it should say HTTPS, not HTTP. I'm also not using the www for my site, so I just have it as my site or adesignerwhocodes.com. So I have this area right in here all set to go. I'm going to go into my Gatsby config, and I don't have my screen. There it is. Let's go into my folders. I probably should have had it open before, but I didn't. There we go. A Designer Who Codes. And from here, I want to go into Gatsby config. And let me open up Gatsby config. So at the very top right here under author, if I go back to the screen, I have to say site URL colon, and I'll just copy the whole piece to make it easier for me. There we go. Site URL https :// a designer who codes.com. I'm going to save that file. Then in the plugins, I'm going to grab the Gatsby plugin sitemap piece, and I'll save that. I'll put it down here. I tend to, for some reason, just add it between my transformer sharp and my plugin sharp. I think just because it said plugin sitemap and then plugin sharp, they just kind of fit together. I don't know. That's just kind of where I've been putting mine in my last couple builds, and I have to put my comma in there as well. Let me run a Gatsby develop just to make sure it doesn't throw any errors. Keep in mind that if you do read the documentation, which I'm just skimming over right here, it will not work within Gatsby develop. I'm not quite sure where it is now, but somewhere in here, I can basically tell you that Gatsby develop will not show your sitemap because it doesn't actually launch until it actually goes on the real World Wide Web. I just run Gatsby develop to make sure it doesn't throw any error messages in case I mess something up along the way, which is entirely possible, which is why I want to run this. And hopefully, we're waiting for this to actually launch, and we should be good to go. And once again, there's the site. If I try to go to sitemap.xml, it's going to just fall apart. So sitemap.xml, yeah, it's not going to find it. That's because you cannot see the sitemap during your Gatsby develop. It's only during the Gatsby build is when it actually works. So if I stop this, Control C, I can run Gatsby build if I wanted to, but my site is actually running through Netlify, which is running through Git. So I don't actually know why I just did that because it's not going to do much for me. I think just because making sure Gatsby build, my feeling also is that in case any extra error messages get thrown not within the Gatsby develop, that I kind of run Gatsby build as a fail-safe methodology. Because I'm running in Netlify, and Netlify does have a set amount of time to build my site, I usually run Gatsby build first just to make sure everything's working and nothing throws any error messages in here. If it does, then it's going to throw an error message back within Netlify. And so I always like to run this thing first just to make sure that nothing is out of the ordinary, it's building and it's working. The error message is regarding the Gatsby CLI, which I will come back to. I will come back to that piece, but right now, everything worked. Success, 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 building in 48 seconds. Cool. Now I know it works. So let me add my site, git add star, and have I hit the right key? Yep, ignore those modules. Git commit added a sitemap. And there it is. 3 files have changed. And I will say git push origin master. And there we go. Let's go over to Netlify where I have it hosted. Under login, should have my site come up to the top. There it is. And it's building. This is what I love about GitHub and also Netlify is it tells me what I have last done. I fixed some spacing issues, I updated the footer, updated the nav, and now I'm building a sitemap. And now I watch and wait for this whole thing to run. We might as well watch paint dry at the same time, so we might as well make sure everything's working okay. Yes, I did combine my NPM with my yarn. I gotta fix that. And once again, I know it's advised not to mix. I was doing a demo before, and I used NPM and forgot. Oh, shoot. It's not gonna hurt anything. It's just gonna give you a little slap on the wrist for the most part. And here we continue on. Everything looking good. Unmet peer dependencies. Warnings are okay. Fails are bad. I wish I could tell you everything said in here, but I can't. The good piece is Gatsby build right here. Since it ran successfully on this side in my terminal, And while we're waiting, we might as well run the npm install of Gatsby CLI. Might as well do two things at once. Sudo, drop that in, and that'll run on the left-hand side. Well, this runs on the right-hand side. Two builds for the price of one. I like it. Let me close this piece as well. And it's still running, uploading, changing, setting, site is live. Perfect. So we should go back to under deploys and designer who codes. And if I now take a look at it and say sitemap.xml, there it is. Oh, it even made little pages for me. I gotta take out that page too. It even actually keeps the page 2, which I forgot to take out as well in my Gatsby original build. But what's nice about it is it actually gave me the locations of about, courses, overview, and Patreon. And of course, I need to take out the page 2 and this as well. It built my sitemap for me just like that. But I can take this sitemap, submit it to Google, and have it actually index my site a little faster than if I just hoped and wished it would work. And this is my quick little video on how to create a sitemap in Gatsby JS with my example for a designer who codes. Thank you much for watching. I'm Haydn Adams.